Yeah.
And anything is up for
Just
grabs.
desperation,
you know? Yeah, absolutely. Everything is on the table.
Yeah.
You know, because that's the nature of the illness. You know, the effects produced by it was dead. You know, dead inside, dead physically.
Yeah. Just fed up of.
Yeah. There is a way out. There is a way. There is a way out of it, and it's beautiful. You know.
Would you say this life's better than addiction?
By a million percent. You know, absolutely.
What's your name?
My name's Andy.
And how old are you?
I'm 40.
And where are you from?
I was born in Portsmouth, moved to Kent in 92, 93-ish time, and then I've been here, there and everywhere really, but South Yorkshire, I lived in South Yorkshire for a number of years, a bit in West Yorkshire. Yeah.
Okay, then, so tell us about your childhood and your upbringing. Was it a good upbringing? Did you get into lots of trouble, or?
Childhood was pretty good. Grew up in like Gosport Fair and way towards Portsmouth. Got an older brother who's a week shy of 4 years older, called Mark. Was pretty good, creating tree houses, you know, out on the bikes, all kinds of things, swimming, all sorts of bits and pieces.
Yeah.
Dad was away at sea a lot. Mum was full-time mum, you know. Childhood was really good.
People refer being an addict to getting into trouble and mischief and misbehaviour, because obviously taking drugs is illegal. Would you say that you were mischievous or getting into lots of trouble?
Not so much in my adolescence, like in my earlier years, but I remember like little bits and pieces where, you know, having to toe the line with like swearing bits and pieces like that. Going into kind of changing areas. We moved when I was about 8 or 9 or something, and I remember being more outward, living in the Portsmouth area, and then moving to Kent, and then going into myself, nervous disposition, from moving to Kent.
Yeah.
With that, trying to fit in, you know.
Yeah, that's a common theme with addicts.
Yeah.
Trying to fit in with other people.
Yeah, definitely. Becoming more secretive because of that the need to fit in, hanging around with lots of different people, the many faces gods, you know, doing a lot of that, trying to wear different caps all the time, not really settling with one certain group and then moving on to the next, you know, and the transient lifestyle, you know, that comes with it.
Is that how drugs started coming in then, trying to fit in with other people?
Yeah, I think a lot of it for me. I mean, prior to moving to Kent and stuff, I spent a lot of time with my brother. My brother was like 4 years older, you know, and such his life, he kind of moved himself when he was at secondary school. And you know, no longer wanted to hang out with me because he wanted to get on with his own life and that.
Yeah.
And with that, yeah, different friendship groups and stuff, doing different things, and I think just a little bit of boredom. Went to a field one day, someone else who lived on our street, and they just by chance, I rocked up and they were rolling a 6 foot long hash spliff. You know, it was my first dipping my toe into it. You know, and
that was my next question. How old were you, and what was your first drug? When did drugs start coming into the equation?
Good show. Yeah, I mean, I'd already started smoking and other bits and pieces. You know, I remember talking to my mates on the way from school. Well, never used drugs. You know, and there was 3 of us. One of them had already tried quite a few. And yeah, mine was hashish. Yeah, way back when.
And how old were you?
I don't know. Probably about 12, 13, something like that. Yeah.
And how did that make you feel? Were you instantly, I love this? Or some people I found that are addicts hated it at first. Hated the first drug. So how would you say you felt about it?
I think I went over to this field and you know, probably was just a little bit lost, a little bit bored, wanted to connect with some people. But yeah, there was a little bit of excitement, you know, from a position of boredom, excitement. Seemed like I was having a good time. It was a little bit of a magic moment, if you like. And then I remember hanging around with these guys, this lad off our street and his friends, and you know, I remember smoking it And I remember I like the effects produced by it. So I felt calmer.
Yeah.
You know, that nervous disposition had dropped a little bit.
I think this is a niche to you, but you've obviously got ADHD, haven't you?
Yeah.
How do you think that played into your drug use as well?
Yeah, I mean, it's a late diagnosis for me, so I never knew I had that learning disability in effect, and it ties into my mental state as an addict, an alcoholic, that my mind can race uncontrollably, and not being able to kind of clock that at an earlier age or have any reason for it, really, lack of awareness. Kind of suffered with it, I guess, but the quietening of the mind ultimately, the effects produced did some of that.
I completely understand that. So talk to us then about the progression. So you said it started with hash.
Yeah.
As you got older, did you start trying to look for higher highs, or how did that work?
By chance again, hanging around with different people, and I remember wanted to go and buy £10 worth of weed. And this lad came back with £10 worth of coke, and he put 2 lines on his phone, and I said, "What have you bought here? You know, I don't want to do that." And he was quite a cool kid, you know. He had quite a troubled upbringing himself and that, but quite the lad, you know. And I went with it, and then I did a line. I think he had another line, and that was it. And from that, the next night, I bought half a gram, then I was on a gram, then I was on an eighth, quarters, and so on and so forth. And quickly it took me. The madness of it is that the effects produced by it, although it quietened the mind, it put me in a lot of paranoia and psychosis from the get-go. So it's more the getting it. Once it was in, you know, it was in, and I was way, you know.
Yeah. So going to like your addiction then, when did you start realising that you were an addict, that you weren't like your friend who maybe did it for a party or something, you were dependent on it? When would you say you realised that?
I think by the age of, all the warning signs were there, you know, but the ominous warnings were there, but I didn't pay attention to them. I quickly found myself, you know, having to finance this, you know, one of the world's most expensive products, you know, on an apprenticeship wage, you know. Quickly I was selling all my things, you know. I'd go out and splurge on a really expensive item of clothing back then, and next thing you know, it's up for grabs for a small amount of drugs. Stuff like that.
How old were you when this was happening?
Through from 16 up to 22.
Yeah.
That was a big spell there for me, that I started doing things that, you know, I wouldn't normally do, you know. Maybe I'd already set the scene on you know, being younger and kind of developing certain skills to get by, and these become exasperated with addiction, you know. So yeah, during kind of 16 to 22, my habit was formed.
That's similar with other addicts. It goes from being a function addict, being able to fund your habit, to your early 20s, and then people kind of get that switch to you already selling things, starting to become desperate, don't you?
Yeah.
And then that's where the...
For sure. And you know, the ways and means to get more, you know, ticking large amounts, not being able to pay it, the manipulation and things that I've done with my parents, family, friends, and so on and so forth, you know.
So how long would you say you were in addiction for then?
I'll always be an addict.
Yeah. How would you say you were in the madness, we'll say?
From my whole adult life.
Yeah.
It's been in one addiction or another. You know, because my body is played host to my mind.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And that's where my illness is, and
I get that,
yeah, it's been one shape or another, and things have got progressively, or you might say regressively worse, you know.
Yeah. So if you had, are you quite an experienced addict, or would you say you only liked coke, or weed? Would you try lots of other drugs?
Yeah, I mean, I started out with cannabis. As I explained, I jumped through the hoop, and I've tried cocaine. Cocaine was predominantly the main one. Up until about, I tried crack, as well. I tried amphetamines. I've tried ecstasy. I've tried many different things. I've tried heroin. Particularly about 7 years ago, I started taking crack. I started actually going to meetings, and the relapse crew was sometimes part of meetings.
Yeah.
Not getting coke one night, I tried crack, and I went, and then I'm trying heroin to try and balance it all.
Yeah. So my next question was, if you've tried all these drugs, then if you had them all laid out in front of you, what would be your go-to drug, your drug of choice?
It would be crack.
Yeah.
Crack, yeah.
Is there a specific reason, or?
It's just chase the effects produced by it, and it's just the instant.
Yeah.
Wow. However, the effects produced by it also produce a lot of pain and suffering.
Yeah.
For myself and everyone in my life, and through that pain, being a teacher, I have to find a new way to live.
Yeah. I'm curious as well. You say you took drugs to quiet your mind. What were the effects of taking amphetamines? Because doesn't that speed up your mind?
Yeah. So for someone with ADHD,
Yeah.
stimulant drugs have the opposite effect.
Yeah.
Yes.
Which makes me curious why you took them. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, I've calmed down a lot. These 12 steps of where I am has really helped. Quieten my mind. So I came in scatty. It's amazing what the drugs do to your mind.
Yeah.
And your body, and definitely the spirit. It's beggars belief why I did them. Other than to quieten my mind, but having formed the habit and found I couldn't break it.
Yeah.
The obsession or my preoccupied mind has been running the show. No matter what's been going on.
Desperation.
It's been the answer on a good day, sunny day, bad day, any day.
Yeah.
It's been preoccupied with that. And
okay, then talk to me about we'll say in the height of your active addiction. Yeah. Well, I don't know. We'll say 25. What would be your average day? So we'll start from waking up. What would your day look like?
Yeah, good shout. I think as well, mate, the height or lows really, but like how it started is not how it finished. How it started would be, I don't know, a payday, going out to a nightclub or something, having a few bags and going to the toilets or whatever, and a few bits of an after party, etc. Not that I've been a very sociable user, because I go, I could go kind of into psychosis and stuff.
Isolate.
That's how it started. Now, fast forward, doing this at 40, and where it's taking me is living in a crack house. Just being by the continual harms I've done, being removed from family homes, relationships, partners. Don't see my kids.
How were you funding your addiction?
Funding my addiction via a variety of methods, whether it be it would be via a variety of methods, via selling things, it could be fraud, it could be malign manipulation, taking the pee out of people closest to me for money, universal credit, PIP, back payments, it could be monthly salaries gone in a night, it could be anything is up for grabs.
Desperation, Yeah,
absolutely. Everything is on the table.
Yeah.
Because that's the nature of the illness. It's disease and more. Yeah.
Okay, then my next question: what would be your lowest point in addiction? Would you say? What would be the rock bottom?
my rock bottom. I mean, there's been many. You know, I only thought they were rock bottoms.
Yeah.
You know, there's been some dark times out there, which has hurt the inside a lot. You know, a lot of low self-worth comes with this. So my rock bottom was losing touch with my core values of who I've been brought up to be, losing contact with my children, my parents, causing all that pain and suffering, and you know, the total sum of my addiction kind of did that. And literally in the end, the march was on to find the ways and means to get drugs, you know, ringing about, doing whatever it took.
Yeah.
Going to score the drugs, doing the drugs, and the same over and over and over and over again.
Yeah.
And I found myself in a shared house in Doncaster, and you know, I knocked on someone's door. I thought, finally I've got somewhere to live, because I was transit, you know, hopping about.
Yeah.
Knocked on someone's door, and my next door neighbour blew a crack pipe out in front of me. You know, downstairs was an alcoholic as well, and the writing was on the wall. That's all it was. You know, I wouldn't afford myself a 20p refresher bar a week. You know, because it would all be for drugs.
Yeah.
You know.
That is a common answer. I find that quite interesting that when I ask about rock bottom, no one usually says anything about drugs. It's about the effects that have on drugs, effect drugs have on your life. Sorry. Yeah, you've got no one to turn to. It's usually talking about kids and family members, so I find that quite interesting. Okay, we'll go on a brighter note then. Talking about going into recovery, when did you realise, or when did you find a way out, or when did you see recovery was an option?
Yeah, because I mean, I went to a treatment centre at 22, and I'd already been in contact with drug services at about 18. And I remember someone showing me at 18, the lady didn't come from an addiction background, but she was, I don't know, maybe a counsellor or something to that effect. That was in Ashford in Kent, and she showed me the cycle of addiction. You know, that was about 18. And I remember looking at it, and like, kind of something clicked. However, you know, I wasn't really back then.
Yeah.
And I went to rehab at 22, I went to rehab at 24, a non-12-step fellowship, different treatment centre in Oxford. From that, after a breakup in 2018-ish, I went to a Narcotics Anonymous meeting. I found a sponsor. And it was a guy that worked here previously.
Yeah.
And it was my first dip into recovery, and it was because the effects produced by it was dead. You know, dead inside, dead physically.
Yeah, just fed up of.
Yeah.
Fed up of that life.
Yeah, totally. And then through that, I'd already been here.
Yeah.
And I come to a meeting actually that used to be the old Serenity Street. You know, or 2, 3, kind of plugged in, and quickly became distracted with, you know, the option. You know, option A, ultimately, I chose, or did I choose, relationships, a new partner. You know, I did the outside world to fix the internal problem.
Yeah.
And it come on top during like furlough time and stuff, you know. I think I came here first in 2020.
Yeah.
And yeah, I found the answer to all my problems. But I was still caught up in, you know, relationships, money, jobs.
That was my next question.
The outside world.
Yeah, you talked to me about recovery. For the people watching who are in a similar position, talk to me about relapse. What went wrong?
Yeah.
What, you know what I mean? Your experience, because there's people who are like you were, that 22-year-old who's got no experience, who thinks he's still got, you know what I mean? You know what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
What wisdom have you got?
For me personally, the 12 steps is the answer to all my problems and some. It's a gift that keeps giving. You know, if I do the work and get into practical application at once, you know.
Mm.
Mine, I didn't go to a 12-step treatment centre at first, you know.
Mm-hmm.
I think the 12-step model fits. It's out there as well. So I think if I was 22, you know, we've got a young lad actually, and it's 21 at the moment, younger than me.
Yeah.
I'm going to just repeat what's, you know, said to me is get yourself to a meeting, whether it's AACA and A, you know, whichever one fits you best. Find the people in the meeting that work the solution.
Yeah.
You know, that are living and breathing the solution.
Mm-hmm.
Come in and come all the way in. Don't sit on the edges. Get in amongst it.
Yeah. Don't half-arse it.
Yeah, totally. Live and breathe it, and make your way through the steps. You know, find a higher power that you can relate to, whatever that may be. You know, the earth, the sun, the moon, the stars, nature, any of the forces, gravity. You know, whether it's a religious, who knows.
Yeah.
Start building your relationship up with that higher power.
What about relationships with women?
Yeah,
and
sure.
Things like that.
Sure. So,
do you think that's a good idea while you're in recovery?
well, not in recovery. No, not early on, because ultimately, like I said earlier, my addiction or my mind will just play host with this body.
Yeah.
And it will just find another way to get the same hit. You know. Particularly early on in recovery, and the advice kind of nowhere says it specifically, but you know, don't make any big decisions for 12 months, you know, and working with that. I do know some people that have had relationships in recovery.
Yeah.
The percentages, rates of success for that are minute, you know. I think building the relationship I need to build is with my higher power, which can enable me to get that internal growth and increase self-worth, you know.
Yeah.
With humility, not with arrogance and the outside shiny. Yeah. It's an inside job. So do the inside job first, you know. And it's okay to have a dream of, you know, you want to be happy, you know, etc. Likewise, we're human beings, we have desires, you know. It's natural to, you know, want to have sex or blah blah blah. There's human God-given instincts, you know. And there's the problem, the abuse of those instincts. So I think for me, it's hammering out, you know, my warped instincts and desires, etc. first. And if you're willing to go to any lengths, you know, do just that.
I'll ask you this last question, and if there was someone now watching this who was still in active addiction, the height of it, abusing drugs, what would be your message to them?
There is a way out. There is a way out of it, and it's beautiful, you know.
Would you say this life's better than addiction?
By a million percent, you know, absolutely. From where I was to where I am now is stark contrast, you know. People are caring, loving, patient, kind, tolerant, you know.
Yeah.
They weren't demonstrated much, you know, out there. Or if it was done from a false pride sense of view, you know. And it was all to do, even if it was more to do with the substance and the kindness of the gesture with that, you know. I find there's, you know, recovery is a beautiful thing. There's a lot of people on the same journey. Nobody gets us like us, you know. And
surround yourself by people who are recovering as well.
Yeah, totally. Stick with the winners, you know, and go with the people that are working the program. You can get this first time, you know. You can get this first time round, you know. You haven't got to be dipping your toe in and out. There is a way out.
Brilliant. Thank you.
Cheers.
Thank you.